You know what they say, better late than never. Hello, it is Nancy again with another wrap-up video. I missed last month, but we're gonna fix that. Oh, my hair is like, say what? Because I'm a little bit tired and lazy right now, I don't want to go and get the books physically and show them to you. It's just going to be a picture right here, so aren't you glad you subscribed? This is a good place. So you know how I said in December that I was gonna read 10 books? That didn't happen. See, I'm the kind of person who makes promises and then falls short at most by half. But since I did reach half of the goal that I made, that means that I was trying a little bit. So there you go. That's good. So the first thing I finished in the month of December was The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I really like that book. You should check it out if you haven't already. Also, I heard this book was referenced in Fangirl, and a lot of people are reading Fangirl right now, so maybe you'd like to pick that up to see what that's all about. You know what I'm saying? And the next book I read was Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. And I thought it was hilarious and a really lighthearted read, and it accomplished what it needed to accomplish. So, a great job, Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. You done good. Except for the fedoras. I never condone wearing fedoras. Ever. It's never cool. It was never cool to begin with, and it never will be. So, no fedoras. The next book I read really quickly was Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl. I thought it was a really funny read. I thought it accomplished what it needed to accomplish also, but at the same time, it was really forgettable, and honestly, I forgot that I had even read it. So I don't know what that means for you. Some people really like that book, some people really hated that book. It doesn't have your typical romance or anything like that. The characters are not very pretty, they're very plain looking, and they're very flawed at the same time. And I really like that aspect of the book. The world in that book was just not very perfect. And I liked how the main character saw the imperfections of his own world through a really comical light. So I really appreciated that book, even though I kind of forgot I read it. The next book I read was Hatchet. And if you've watched my previous videos, then you know that I freaking love that book. I love survival stories. I don't know what it is. I love Castaway. I just really am attracted to survival stories. So, if you're looking for a survival story, Hatchet is a really good one. The next book I read fairly quickly and sort of skimmed through was Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. And Bird by Bird is essentially a creative writing book, how-to, self-help thing, nonfiction. Yeah, sure. And in a very fun and inspirational way, it teaches you how to become a writer. Not necessarily how to write or how to write a book, but to cope with being a writer, because being a writer is a weird journey. Let's face it, it is a really strange thing to be. There was, of course, some parts that I had to skip over because I already know about those things, but a lot of it was really good advice. It's one of those books that you mark up and you post-it note for later to read. And the last book that I finished in the month of December was The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I didn't like it as much as No Country for Old Men. I thought it was okay. I mean, a lot of people really like that book, and it is a survival story too, but I don't know. I thought that No Country for Old Men was incredibly good, and I felt like No Country for Old Men worked on a lot more levels and a lot more layers than The Road. Maybe you could disagree with me, that's fine. Tell me in the comments that you disagree with me. In the month of January, I had read 5 books, and I am ahead of schedule in terms of reading 50 books this year, so that's exciting, right? Right. Positivity. I started off the year with a really great book, and that was Lock and Key by Joe Hill. Amazing graphic novel, and I could link you to some really good reviews, because reviews are really good too. Wow, that was awkward. A lot of stopping and just awkwardness. I am the queen of awkward, And then I read The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. Loved this book too. He has a really interesting style of writing in that his plots are strange. And they don't really coincide with a lot of other 3-act structures or story arcs per se. I mean, they just really go their own direction, but at the same time, it's really good. I could see Neil Gaiman being off-putting to some people because of how strangely he writes, but I enjoyed The Graveyard Book a lot. I'll link you to a review of that too by someone else. Oh god. I'm just providing more work for myself later on. And the next book I read was The Ocean at the End of a Lane by Neil Gaiman. Again, I was on a Neil Gaiman spree. The Ocean at the End of the Lane is an adult book, and I figured that out midway through reading it. There are some parts in there I was just like, should kids be reading that about someone's dad groping another woman's ass? Is that kid appropriate? And then I was like, no, I think this might be an adult book. And then I looked it up, and it was. So, yeah. Go easy on me, alright? I read Coraline, I read The Graveyard Book. Those are both children's books. And then I read The Ocean at the End of the Lane. Thought it was another children's book. It's not my fault. I just don't research things well. And then finally, after 6 months, I read A Dance with Dragons. And oh man... George, why? Like, please, why? Why? But most importantly, why? Where is the 6th book? Where it at? Where it at? I need to know what happens. And it makes me angry how little that book progressed the plot, because there's so many more things to cover and to tie up the loose ends. Like, oh, I don't know if it'll be finished in 2 books. To be honest, I think it needs 5 more books. And George R.R. Martin, let's be honest, he does not take care of his health, and he's gonna die before he finishes the series. And then, why? Why did I even start reading this series if I'm gonna get so attached like this? Why? And the last book that I read in the month of January was The Call of Cthulhu by H.P. Lovecraft, and I love that short story thing so much, and it definitely felt good to read something short and to read something in one day after finishing Dance with Dragons after 6 months. So The Call of Cthulhu is an essay, research thing. I don't know how to describe it. It's like found information written as an essay sort of thing. It was really good, really short, and whew. So those are 10 books I read in 2 months. Not 10 books in 1 month, 10 books in 2 months. Because I'm a slow reader. And that's not going to change anytime soon. Well, that's it for me today, so I'll see you in another video. Bye! That's like a relationship. It's like a real relationship, you know what I'm saying? You come home, you're like, hey honey, have a conversation, eat dinner, you know, spend a couple hours together in the day, and then the next day it's the same thing. That's a relationship, a committed one. And now it's over.